you are my lucky charm. I hold you close in the night in my arms. And when we open our eyes, my worries fade away. 'Cause you gave me your heart in the light of day, in the light of day. And when we open our eyes, my worries fade away. 'Cause you gave me your heart in the light of day, in the light of day. You are my lucky charm. I hold you close in the night in my arms. And when we open our eyes, my worries fade away. 'Cause you gave me your heart in the light of day, in the light of day.
All right, guys, what is going on? What up? Hope you guys are having a good Thursday. Today is Thursday, May 25th, 2023. So what's good, Willow, Naruto, Nicholas, Jesse, and Kevin? What up, man? Let me know. Always, guys, with the sound check, drop a like when you come in here. So that way we can get, more people on. We get picked up by the algorithm and all that good stuff that we talk about. We are, I think we're at 48, but officially we are at 46 members on this YouTube channel. So very, very nice. We are getting to goals pretty quickly. A lot quicker than I guessed. So that's great. So hopefully we can keep that up. And I'm sure it'll happen when I actually, give it some real marketing. But that won't be for today. That won't be one of the discussion topics for today. So yeah, we'll do a brief market review, and then I'll expand a little bit on what I told you I would expand on my Instagram story in regards to the two or three things that I said. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we'll do the analysis first, and then we'll get into the rest of it. Okay. So as far as the indices go, there was a tweet. I had a few tweets today, not a lot, but when I hopped on the charts, the very first thing I noticed was the NASDAQ. And I did mention 13,823 as a potential downside objective, right? But in that same tweet, I also said, mind you, that NASDAQ is our strongest index, okay? And you already know what the rules are. Not all of them, but at least the top 10 I gave you in that video, right? You guys know that we may not want to short the bullish, the strongest market. All right. So if you were looking for shorts, like maybe off this imbalance or maybe a retracement or something, then the market went to a new high. So you likely got stopped out. Now, when this occurred here, 13,977 and a quarter, at that particular point, I sent out an update and said, well, now that it took a previous high, it may be permitted to trade lower. Because if you zoom out, right, that is the high of the 22nd. So that's Monday's high that was taken. But again, if you look at it, it doesn't provide any bearish setup. Okay. It does trade lower, but there's no distinctive structure that's broken. There's no mitigation setup, or anything like that. What's good, Leo? What's good, Allie? Now, I was watching this, and I did like some paper trades, like just to kind of mess around with, but I didn't take any live trading today. And I watched this, and this would have been one of those scenarios where, and again, I'm going to make the case for cutting a loss before it hits your stop. Okay. I'm going to be an advocate for that for probably a very long time, if not forever. The idea that, placing a stop loss and then just letting the trade, whatever happens, I don't agree with that. Okay. I agree with like some sort of trade management, and a lot of that to me is going to be, based on ideas that I use for order flow. So for example, I want you to look at these three candles right here. I want you to look at this one. We got to make it smaller. I want you to look at that one. Okay. That one. And then that one. Okay. So what do you notice about those three candles right there? If the only thing that we had to go off of was this imbalance, let's say we shorted that. Okay. Obviously, we were wrong in that assumption if you did happen to do that. But, in order to not take a full loss, okay, we could have done some trade management on this 11:10 candle here. It's lunchtime anyway. So it hits that imbalance at 11 o'clock, which is lunch. So that's not usually the best time. So there's issue number one. And then issue number two is the bodies here start to respect this 5-minute imbalance, but then this 11:10 candle, okay, look where it closes. And I'm going to change the arrow to a blue arrow so you know which candle I'm referring to. That up candle now closes past the hypothetical imbalance, right? So when I trade imbalances, okay, I short either right in the imbalance, okay, sometimes halfway, it depends on some other factors, but my tightest, well, I'd say probably a medium stop, so not too tight, but not the loosest one either. I'd say the medium one is going to be the case where my stop is going to go to the high, okay, of the candle that completes the imbalance, right? So if the imbalance is here, that means this candle, whatever that high is, that's where my stop is going to go if it's like, you know, solely based off the imbalance, okay? So now when you look at this chart, okay, and we're going to send this to the back so we can see. All right. This candle at 11:10, when that closes past your imbalance, right? It disrespects it. Okay. That to me is indication that this imbalance is not valid anymore, like bearishly. So if we're wrong in the assumption that it's bearish, if it's going to trade higher, then that's not something that you likely want to hold on to. I think it was rule number 8. It's okay to be wrong, just don't stay wrong. And that idea could be here where you could be in a trade and let's say you risked 1% or maybe even 2%, whatever it is for you, okay? As soon as that candle closes, you can kind of see that that's a little bit less than halfway, right? So if you had whatever these two levels are, if that was a full, let's say 1% risk, right there, as soon as that candle closes, you could drop it. I can exit the trade. Okay, I can abandon the idea right there. As soon as the candle closes. So whatever price that, and as soon as that next one opens, you know, I could hop out, right? So think about that. You're wrong, but you're not taking the full loss, all right? And that was kind of the idea that I was going with, like, well, if I would short, it would probably be there, but I'm not going to take it live because that's the only thing we have to go off of, and that's not enough. Plus, it's our strongest index, so I don't want to short that. But I did take it on paper, and I managed it like, yeah, as soon as that closed, I'm hopping out of it. So it was practice, you know what I mean? It's practice because I can tell you right now, we've all been in a situation. If you've been trading for a period of time, all right, you know exactly what it's like to watch the market just trade against you and against you until eventually it hits your stop. And you know what that feels like, right? You go, oh my God, why didn't I just get out? Why did I hold it? Why was I hoping? And, you know, and all that. That was a mistake. You could have saved yourself from further damage. Now, every once in a while, if you're that wrong, the market may just run to your stop loss. All right, maybe there's nothing to do about that. That's why we have stop losses as a worst case scenario. But that's the point. If there was ever a point that I was going to make today about, you know, trade management, is you don't have to take a full loss. It has zero correlation, it has zero, you know, it doesn't have anything to do with comfortable with the risk, okay? Risk comfortability and trade management, you know, they're two different things. They're completely two different things. So when people try to tell you like, oh, you should just let the trade hit your stop, otherwise you didn't accept the risk. Bro, that's apples and oranges, bro. It's different things. It's different things. Okay? So if you did try to short, hopefully you didn't take a full loss, but you really shouldn't have shorted anyway. So that's where we're at today. Again, I didn't take anything live today, so you know, there's no harm, no foul, no monetary, you know, loss. And to be fair, I'm glad I didn't trade today, because I probably, there's a chance I may have taken that or maybe not. I mean, if I broke my rules, I probably would have taken that. But if I was disciplined, I probably wouldn't have taken anything today. So there's that. All right. As far as the S&P goes, I do think that the S&P had a little bit better of a shorting opportunity, and this likely would have resulted in a break even. So let me try and explain that. With the NASDAQ having equal lows, okay, let's say you got bamboozled today. Let's say you thought, all right, break of structure, it wants to run the lows, and you know, it may hit a retracement, or maybe you thought this was a mitigation here. That's why I tweeted earlier and I said, as soon as we hit that in here, I said, what we do here is going to be important. And that's what I was referencing. What's up, Jasmine? That's what I was referencing here. I said, what we do from here is going to be important. And then we shot up and then took that high, and then you see the rest of the tweets. But the reason I said that, okay, if you look, we made a new high, right? So from 805 up to 1010, we made a new high on NASDAQ. The S&P, however, 805 to 1010, it's lower. Okay, it's lower here. So I think it depends on when you looked at the chart, or you know, if you looked, like, let's say for the mitigation model that I gave you. Okay, let's say you looked for that. You could argue that there is a mitigation here, and you could argue that this is an imbalance here. So let me walk you through what would typically happen on a day like this. All right. If you, and again, my stop when it comes to imbalances, if I'm strictly trading the imbalance, all right, it almost always goes, at least bearishly, it always goes to the high of the candle completion. All right. So before we move forward, I just want you to understand the imbalance is from this candle's low to this candle's high. I mean, you could argue it comes up here too, but for sake of example, the original imbalance, I'm just going to leave that here. All right. So that means 41.62 and a quarter. That is this candle's high. So if I'm shorting this mitigation, 42 or 41.52.25 would have to be the earliest available entry, because that's exactly 10 points as a stop. And I don't try to ever go further than 10 points on the S&P. Okay. Now let's say, for example, we pick the imbalance. I mean, excuse me, the mitigation, like the low end of the mitigation. Okay. This is what would have happened today in this scenario. If I would have shorted here, all right, with a stop here, notice the market never trades past that. Okay. And this also happens to be an up candle. So price definitely struggles right there. Now, at that same time, when the S&P hits this up candle here, that is when, again, the NASDAQ was trading higher. Okay. So you're getting a little bit of a divergence there. So you guys see that? Higher high on NASDAQ, lower high on the S&P. It's hitting this up candle. Okay. So the thing is here, this candle at 1010, it does close above the imbalance. So if you decided to close your short, and because you thought maybe it was going to go to your stop, all right, either way, that's not a full loss. But let's say you held on to it. Okay. Drops lower and then drops lower. So it does end up going about 13 points in the, you know, anticipated direction of the downside, right? However, at least on a 5-minute time frame, it never makes a lower low here. That's usually what I would look for. Now, I'm sure there's a small time frame low in here that's probably right there. So one of two things would usually happen. If you took a partial here and then held the rest for this low, you got out a little bit and then the market came back and probably got you break even if the entry was based on this. Because when I take partials, I usually go break even after that. So it would have been either take partial and then break even, or break even altogether. So yeah, today would probably been rough. Like if I traded live, it probably would have been rough. Okay. And after a while, like once like lunch occurred, I pretty much stopped watching the markets that closely anyway. And then I don't even know what to make of the rest of the day. I'm sure you could probably find some scalping opportunities on a 1 minute time frame, but I didn't really go down into the small time frames and everything like that. Plus, if you looked at the open, or I mean, at least maybe the first couple hours or so, when the NASDAQ was rallying here, the Dow was significantly lower. I mean, look at this big triangle formation. I mean, this is just horrible. No, this is like not my favorite price action to trade. You know, Dow's the weakest, so I don't want to long it. And by the time I was looking for shorts on S&P, the Dow's kind of like in the middle, like the middle of this range. So do I really want to trade that? So yeah, today might have been a little rough, but I'm glad I took off. Leo asks, if you hit your weekly goal but find a good setup, do you take the trade? That's on you, man. I mean, whatever your rules say, whatever your rules tell you to do. If let's say I had a good week, okay, like with Dow on Tuesday, okay, not that I want to keep, bragging or anything, but Dow, we knocked that bitch out of the park, right? So like, to me, that was a really, really good trade. Now that it's Thursday and I haven't really done anything since then, tomorrow's Friday. Friday's my worst day, and I don't want to give back anything from Tuesday. So the argument then becomes, all right, if we trade, we'll reduce the risk, because if it's a loss, we don't want to take a full loss going into the weekend. You know what I'm saying? So me personally, I think the most beneficial thing would be to just not do anything at all and just lock in. But if you do that, if you decide like, all right, we've hit the weekly goal, or maybe it's the end of the month and it's the monthly goal, and you go, all right, I'm done. And you see a fire setup and you don't take it, and that setup happens to pan out, you can't be mad at that. You can't be like, well, now I'm kicking myself because I didn't take the trade. It's like, well, bro, you decided. And once you make a decision, just stick to it, regardless of whatever the outcome may be. So at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you. If you guys got some value so far, drop a like on the video. I greatly appreciate that. We're only like 5 likes, guys. We have like over 20 people on here. So what's up? What's up with that? What is up with that, chat? And you took a loss on NASDAQ today. Yeah. I mean, did you try to short NASDAQ or long? And yeah, I don't think any of the time frames I really cared for today for the indices. So I looked at currencies as well. Didn't care for anything on that end either. Here's a 15-minute chart, and what is this? This doesn't look great. I mean, if anything, maybe British pound during London. London had some decent price action. Okay. That was yesterday afternoon. Were we here yesterday afternoon? Or did we cut Wednesday short? I don't know. I don't remember. Alex said I'm one of the 5 now. Well, we're up to 12 now, so that's good. What's up, Shiar? I don't know if I said that right, but what's good? Okay, so if it were me, I would study this right in here. I would study this for British pound. Now, again, this is 100% hindsight. But, you know, if you want something to study, I think this setup in here is really solid because this also presents really good order flow too. Nasdaq created relative equal highs just pre-New York Open. I wonder if the reaction around 9 a.m. Central Time was to attack the highs on Nasdaq. Yeah, we can come back to it, but I do want to discuss one thing on, or a couple things actually on British pound before we hop back over there. Oh yeah, okay, this is beautiful. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about relative strength, manipulation, and then we'll get into a small discussion, and then that'll be it. So today, I'm gonna try and keep today under an hour. I want to try and keep it like at 45 minutes or less. We were here from most of the afternoon yesterday, 2.5 hours. Okay, well, that's fine. But either way, study this right here. So there was a nasty consolidation here. So that was yesterday, New York, a little bit of New York, all the way until like the evening. So probably Asia, I'm sure. So there's really, you know, long-term consolidation here on British pound. Okay. When it leaves the consolidation and then trades above it, there's actually quite a lot going on here. So when I look at British pound, what I want to do at the same time is look at the euro. Okay. And that's why I was swapping back and forth between euro and British pound, just so I could see the chart, each one individually. And Jesse, I'm not sure what we're talking about here, but let me get through this, and then if you have questions, you can ask them. So again, when I'm looking at British pound or euro, I want to be looking at both of them. Okay. And the overlap is easy. There's a button. I don't think you guys can see it because I have the trim up here, but there's a circle with the plus sign in it right to the left of the time frames. And when you click that, it'll bring this window up, and then you can just search whatever you have, or since I have recent symbols, I have a list I can go through. That's how you overlap that. Okay. Now I overlap it for visual representation for you guys, but usually when I do this myself, I usually swap between the two charts. All right. So notice what euro is doing when British pound is clearing these highs. Okay. So you remember last week when I gave you that lesson and I told you, how do you know if the high or low has been set, right? How do you know if it's manipulation? And this right here is a classic example. And again, this is in my book as well. Larry Williams talks about it. So in Secrets to Selecting Stocks for Immediate and Substantial Gains, even though he talks about the averages in individual stocks, relative strength really can be applied anywhere. So you see British pound consolidation. You guys know hopefully what to expect when there's consolidation, right? You're going to have orders on both sides of the market. You're going to have buy stops above the consolidation. You're going to have sell stops below the consolidation. Okay. So British pound, it trades lower and it triggers sell stops to trade lower, but then it quickly reverses, right? And gets buy stops in here. Okay. So we have triple highs, equal highs, whatever have you, at the same time, right? Consolidation, so even better. And look at what happens here, right? British pound is sweeping those highs and the euro is lower. Okay. So that right there is your giveaway. Like that to me is your indication that this is manipulation. because otherwise it doesn't make sense. Like, all right, if they are correlated very heavily, they don't have the same weight in the dollar index, but they're still heavily correlated. Same way New Zealand and Australian dollar is, right? And you can do this same process between those two, Aussie and Kiwi. That's why, again, my book has those examples. It has the indices, it has Aussie, Kiwi, and Euro, British pound. I don't remember if I threw dollar in there. I wrote it like 3 years ago. But anyway, because I wanted you to understand that there's more than one way of doing it. It's not just Euro and British pound. It's you know, metals as well and all that. So, but anyway, back to the point. This is how you know it's manipulation. It's clearing highs while the euro is trading lower. Okay? That is a huge red flag. All right? Huge red flag. So then what do you do with that information? Well, there's a video I've done on this particular YouTube channel, right? The shit, I done forgot the title. Let me look at that real quick. It's something about low risk, high reward setups. Let me take a look. Oh, that's what it's called. It's called low risk, high reward intraday setups. It's a 20-minute video that was released 4 weeks ago. And I don't remember specifically everything that I talked about in there, but I do know that I talked about running liquidity and then breaking structure and then low risk sells by that first initial retracement. So let me see one thing. All right. So this looks kind of not that great. Oh, never mind. It does look good. Okay. So when you have, if you label this as manipulation, okay? Right? Or distribution, okay? That's great. Leading up to this high, the most recent low I would say is this one here. Okay? This one right here. So why that one? Because if you actually look at the bodies, okay? You have your high, low, higher high. And so that's what I'm saying. The leg of the manipulation, okay? That to me is going to be your low that I would look for that break of structure, which you do get here. Okay. So what that leaves open now is the high, low, higher high phenomenon. And so the last three, or usually it's usually one or two, but sometimes it can be three or four, but that is usually going to set up your mitigation play. Now, what I told you, the reason that I thought this is worth studying, and again, I just looked at it for like 2 seconds, is because it had consolidation, it ran the highs, right? But this is the great part. This is what kind of ties all this in together. When I'm looking to take a trade, okay, and again, I think this is also in that video, the low risk, high reward intraday setups video, is it's not just the setup, but it's with the right, it's at the right setup at the right time with the right context. So in other words, in more simpler term, I've been watching Jordan Peterson all day, so now I'm trying to overcomplicate everything. Is in other words, we need to have a high probability target. So what is that? And that is these lows right here at 123.32. Yeah, you think it's funny? I love Jordan Peterson. He's like a modern day philosopher, but he's like the definition of overcomplicating things. I love the guy to death. Super smart, smarter than I'll ever be. But my God, the guy can talk for 5 minutes and that's like one sentence, you know? But anyway, 123.32 is not equal lows, but close enough, right? Low resistant lows or what have you. So for me, what you also have, because we're not done up here, but what you do have right here, right there, you do have a lack of wick as well. So that may present an imbalance. And yeah, he's a GOAT. Jordan Peterson's a GOAT. And then, so there you have it. You would have, if it was me, essentially the entry based on the rules that I gave for the mitigation model, if you guys watched it, is an entry there because it's an overlap. And the stop would probably have to go up to this high here. Only because the imbalance or the lack of wick, if you will, is at the lower end of the mitigation. And sometimes you have to allow the trade room to breathe, right? That's one of the trading rules as well. Don't choke the trade, right? Don't have your stop loss too loose, but don't have it too tight either. And be patient. Plus, this entry is logically not at a it's not at a logical level. So the last couple lessons I've done has been on logic, right? Opening price, and the session, the current range, right? So what is the current range here? Is this high, the manipulation high, down to that current low. So this right here doesn't even meet the 50% requirement. So I told you that if you trade around 50% or worse, right? What did I tell you? Expect drawdown. Okay. And then what do you see here? Well, lo and behold, you would have taken some drawdown, but then it breaks structure again. You have another imbalance here, and then bam, it runs right for those lows. So that wouldn't have been bad. And it continues, I think, a little bit later until the start of the afternoon session for indices. So yeah, it does offer, and I'll delete everything now, but it does offer some pretty decent opportunities for downside objectives. But the whole point of pointing this out is like this is very clean to me. Consolidation, runs the highs, leaves open lows, obvious break of structure, and then that last retracement. I mean, I think this is kind of ugly. I don't really care for this. I mean, if you looked at this like the high, low, higher high, then this down candle may be a mitigation for you. I wouldn't have looked at it that way. I still kind of don't look at it that way, but it still would have worked, I guess. So I'll leave that up for your interpretation of what you want to do with that. But it's also that up candle on the 1 hour time frame as well. So yeah, again, I think that's very clean, but only because, and again, this is one of the key pieces to high probability trading, in my opinion, is the fact that with this new high, the euro was lower. So the euro showed no willingness to go higher. Okay. Now the euro was weaker. I'll give you that. And British pound was stronger. But remember, I told you in the last couple of streams that the equal lows to me take priority over the rule of not shorting the leader, because the leader to the upside can still, you know, be outdone on the downside. Okay. So there you go. All right. So that's pretty much all that I have for today for British pound and the indices. So tomorrow's Friday, so just be careful. And then the last part, real quick, probably I want to try and get this done within like 5 or 10 minutes or so, is a brief discussion of what I mentioned on my Instagram. Okay. So that's pretty much it for the analysis portion of today. So again, if you guys got some value, if you enjoyed it, drop a like on a video. I'd greatly appreciate that. If it's your first time here, make sure to also subscribe as well. been trying to grow this channel, I would greatly appreciate that. So as far as the discussion goes, it's not gonna be a lot, but I did talk about communication, because Bedros Koulian got back to me within like 7 hours, but I was gonna skip that. So, and what's actually very interesting is this idea that I already had. I came about it kind of on my own, but I didn't realize that this was actually a verse in the Bible as well. And so I thought that was very interesting to kind of like learn something. Like you know, as humans, our brains, we learn to see patterns, right? And there's just this pattern of when you become smart and you become wise, there's its own problems that come with that, and that's what I was going to explain. And it's funny enough because it's actually this might be the shortest book in the Bible, Ecclesiastes. I don't know if I said that right, but anyway, it's Ecclesiastes 1:18, and it goes like this: "For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief." And someone had posted that the other day on social media, and I had to verify it. I had to look it up for myself, and I went, "Oh, that's an actual verse, bro. It's crazy." So, because I've been saying that for a little while, as far as when you become smart and you learn things, you start to see the lack of what you learned in other people. And I don't know if I said that correctly, but let me expand on that. When you learn, let's say, for example, communication, it's real easy, right? Let's say that you learn about communication. So you become a person that's what you're hyper focused on that, right? So you're not leaving people on red, you're sending, you know, texts and calls and stuff, and you're communicating with people, right? So you become yourself a good communicator, right? That's a good thing, and I'm not against that. But what a lot of, I guess, teachers don't tell you is that when you learn something, or when you learn a skill like that, you'll start to see how bad other people are at communicating. And with that comes its own responsibilities. I mean, its own ridiculousness. Let me see if I can just change the filter real quick. Because the webcam is kind of too small right now. And it's not that one. It's... I don't even remember which one it was. It might be this one. Just to make it a little bit bigger. All right, well, anyways. So what I was saying on my Instagram was, be aware when you gain wisdom, you will see life through a more sophisticated lens. You'll see things for what they really are instead of just the appearance of what they might be. The truth, not just the appearance of truth. In other words, when you learn about leadership, you'll see how good or bad other leaders are. And that goes with everything else. When you become a good trader, you'll see how bad other traders are. And that sounds kind of bad to say, but I mean, it's the truth though. When you get good at anything, you'll see how bad other people are at that. And if you are good at anything, you understand exactly what I'm coming from. So I went on the next story, and I kind of went all over the place today, and that's my fault, but that's what I think about sometimes. I just think about a lot of things, so it is what it is. But I continued on and said that when you learn about communication and learn to communicate better, you'll see how badly others are at communicating or speaking, mentoring, trading. I mean, anything really, any subject. But all you can do is your best. Don't expect others to become better at any subject just because you want to become better. You can't force people to learn or grow, and it's disappointing, but it's true. So that's what I was actually writing about today. right? I'm still writing my second book. I know I've been saying that for like a year and a half now, but I wrote a full page here, and then on the back I wrote another, full page, and I'm continuing on this idea. And I'm obviously not going to tell it to you here. I'm not going to give you everything here, but that's what I'm writing about today specifically. Just because of, you guys already know a lot of the things that have been happening. You know what I mean? As far as where I teach you guys, right? Which platform I use to connect with you guys. Obviously today we are on a different platform than we have been, So there's a lot of let me put it to you this way. As a person, all right, I was not into personal development a long time ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I wasn't really into that. But over time, and especially in network marketing, I did get into it. So when I started getting into it, I started finding people like John Maxwell, for example, who teaches a lot about leadership. You guys already know the last maybe 2 years or so, I've been getting into philosophy. That's because of people like Ryan Holiday. You know what I mean? So when I dive into a subject, and this was like with trading as well, with anything, if I get into a subject, I hyper focus on that specific subject. So like when I was reading in 2022 about John Maxwell, I was reading like 10, 11, 12, maybe even like 13 of his books specifically, because I wanted to learn a lot about leadership, asking good questions, communicating, and connecting and all that, and other stuff, right? So what I was doing this entire time, and this is with philosophy as well, is I would simultaneously take the information in, right, that's presented in John's books, and I would compare that to current leadership of my organization, current leadership of, whatever company, and the even leadership in the past. Because you guys know I spent 4 years in the military. So, I know good leaders, I know bad leaders, right? And I realized that I can learn from all types of leadership, good leadership, bad leadership, mediocre, all of it, right? So as I was reading these books, I'm going, okay, well, this is probably something that we do good. But a lot of it was, oh my God, we don't do this. This is what we need to fix. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up becoming, I wouldn't say passionate, but I would say that leadership is a really big deal. I think leadership personally is a really big deal, okay? And John Maxwell says that everything rises and falls on leadership. And I agree with that. And so that's the thing, man. Like when things go wrong, right? That's who needs to take responsibility, is leadership. The leaders, whoever they might be. And so what has happened over, I would say, the long haul, is that politics have gotten in the way of leadership, because people would rather avoid taking responsibility in order to make themselves look good, or at least make themselves not look bad. Because there's definitely a difference between looking good and not looking bad. Okay? I could do something good, let's say for the sake of community, that makes me look good. Or I could do nothing at all and it doesn't make me look bad. You know what I mean? So there's definitely a difference. So what I was trying to do the last few years, right, was teach people about leadership, or at least bring certain things to people's attention. Like, hey, you know what? I think this is wrong, or this might need to be fixed, and this is something that we need to work on. But I wasn't pushing blame, though. I wasn't like, y'all are idiots. It was more like, hey, we together probably need to focus on this, that, and third. You know what I mean? So it's funny because earlier this year, and at the tail end of last year, a lot of you guys were not in certain conversations, okay? And in the conversations that I was a part of, okay, without trying to give out too much information here, is communication was a big problem. And that was something that everybody was supposed to work on. And so the fact that communication is still really bad is just ridiculous to me. So you guys still are asking me about, you know, what platform that I'm going to be on or not on anymore. And the truth is, I have no idea. I have no idea what we're going to do. Okay? So that should tell you that communication is still a really big problem. All right? And I almost feel bad because a lot of you guys are not getting the answers that to the questions that you're asking. You know what I'm saying? But I should have answers for you, but I don't. And that, you know, is not entirely up to me. It's not in my control, as Epictetus would say, would tell you. So at the end of the day, this is the point I'm trying to make. I might be focused on leadership. I might be focused on communication, but that doesn't mean other people are going to be focused on what I'm focused on. You know what I mean? But if you look around, okay, now and again, I'm not gonna like say anything that's gonna, you know, piss anybody off or whatever, at least not on purpose. But the thing is, I mean, you look around, right? Are people winning? Are people's businesses growing? You don't have to answer in the chat. This is a rhetorical question. You don't have to, you know, I'm not asking you. You don't have to put anything in the chat. I just want you to think. I just want you to think for a minute, right? Don't look at the appearance of truth. Look at what the truth is, okay? Are the majority of people winning? Are the majority of people's businesses growing? Are we expanding? Is the economy in the United States, is it growing? Is it expanding? Okay? Just think about that. It's either a yes or a no answer, okay? So if the answer is, you know, John, well, it doesn't really look like it. Okay. So if there's some problems that we have, I think, and again, this is my opinion, but I think it would be extremely advantageous to really sit down and plug the holes in that ship. Right? If you have a ship with holes in it, you're going to fucking sink. So whatever those holes are, it's a good idea to plug them up, right? But that's how you do it. You have to, number one, identify the holes in your ship. And number two, you have to, you know, fix that internal issue, because one hole in your ship might be leadership. Another hole might be communication, you know, and whatever else happen, you know, it may be. Because I'm not talking about one company or any specific business, but I am speaking generally here. Okay. So you might care about your business, but just because you care about your business, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to care about your business. You know what I'm saying? So with no matter what, and I really want you to understand this, and now I'm going on a fucking tangent here. I'm going to end it here pretty soon, but I just want to get this out here because I'm transparent with you guys, okay? Students first, always. People over profits, okay? On this YouTube channel, it's people over profits, okay? I don't know about everywhere else, but on this fucking channel, people over profits, okay? 100%. But the point I'm trying to make is I lost it. I lost it with that last sentence. Oh, that's right. This is the focus. Because in that response, I told you guys that all you can do is your best, right? When I walked away from my job in 2019, when I walked away from the Navy, and no matter what I do moving forward, okay, every single time with whatever endeavor that I do, okay, when I walk away with the understanding that I have done personally everything that I could think of. Everything. You got problems, I got solutions or ideas. Usually. Maybe not all the time, but a lot of the times, if you got a problem, I have an idea on how to fix it. But as with anything, when there's a business, when there's an organization, you guys realize that one person does not, can hold everything together, right? It's teamwork. That's why in the Trade House values, it's teamwork. Okay. That's why I put that in there. You cannot have a business that is going to be wildly successful with just one person. That's not how it works. Okay. So if you don't learn to work together, if you don't learn to fix the problems that you have in your business, in your organization or whatever, you're fucked. Okay. So that's why I've been doing these things. I've been focusing on leadership. I've been focusing on a little bit on the business side. I haven't read too many business books, but a few of them. Okay. And that's why I'm writing my next book, because part of it is leadership and part of it is business. It's two different sections of the book, business as well as leadership, because I'm going to give you guys like the best lessons that I've learned in my almost 30 years on this earth. So, it is more disappointing than anything else. That's what I meant to say earlier. Because that verse that says, the more knowledge, the more grief. I wouldn't use the word grief per se, not that I want to argue with the Bible or anything, but I would say instead of grief, the more accurate word is disappointment. Disappointment or frustration. That's probably a good word too. So not necessarily grief, but frustration and disappointment. You know what I'm saying? So I think Epictetus, though, would say you're only harmed if you choose to be harmed. You're only disappointed if you choose to be disappointed. But at the end of the day, you can't just immediately turn off an impression. An impression or a feeling that you get, you have to sit in that and you have to, work through that. So I can't just turn off disappointment or turn off frustration. I can work through it, in a day or a couple of days or whatever, but you can't just instantly go from frustrated to, all right, it's cool, no matter what, fuck it, in 5 minutes. Like that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I am fine. I am great with the fact that I've done everything possible, to do my best. If you think about it, who had a bigger channel than mine? Who had more favorites than me? That's a serious question. Because I haven't looked at everybody's favorites. I don't know if there's someone that has more than 130, 140 favorites. I don't know. So that's a serious question. Who had more favorites than me? How many books have I recommended over the last, I don't know, year and a half, maybe 2 years? How many books? How many subjects have I tried to get you guys on? How many YouTube channels? Bedros Koulian, and Andrew or Andy Frisella, Ryan Holiday. You know what I'm saying? So who? I have proven to you guys that I've done everything possible. And that's what makes this whole situation so frustrating, because I still want to know. And I brought this up to my students and they're probably sick of me hearing about it. But, you know, that's my question. What have I done specifically to lose your trust, to make you guys distrust me? What have I done? Because in my eyes, I've done everything that I have possibly could have done to help students, period. So if I'm wrong somewhere, I would like for somebody to point that out. Nah, I cuss too much. I get that. You ain't got to say it. We already know it. Okay. Sometimes I sleep in too much. All right, I get it. I'm a flawed guy. But, you know, what specifically has led people to not trust me anymore? Because that's not how I see it. You write the whole book on paper first? Yeah. Well, my first one, no. I did that in Word. But this next one, I would like to write in pen, and then, you know, because it's more, it's hard to explain, but it's just more connected, I guess. It's more meaningful when I write it on paper than on keyboard and mouse. So the book will be more in depth that way than writing it, or even like using ChatGPT to write it. You know what I mean? ChatGPT lacks a lot of depth. And Jesse said that I got them started on reading in Stoicism. That's great. Oh, see, that's a gem right there, Jesse. You don't just set the bar, you constantly raise it. That's probably the best comment that I've gotten this entire year, to be honest. I don't just set the bar, I constantly raise it. I mean, look, as I've said on recent streams, if you don't do your best, why are you doing it? If you don't give 100%, then why are you doing it? Then you're just going through the motions. And when you go through the motions, you're not going to give people their best. And you guys know what I'm talking about. When you go to work and you're just kind of like, well, it's another Tuesday, it's another Wednesday, whatever. You just kind of coast. You're not doing your best work when you're coasting. So what would that look like if I did that? If I didn't constantly push myself physically, mentally, you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't look good. It wouldn't be in your best interest. As a mentor, it would not be in the student's best interest if the mentor or the teacher did not actively pursue a better life. You know what I'm saying? Or some sort of personal development. And that's where I think a lot of, mentors or educators, that's where they fuck up at. Chief mentorship to build community really could have served as a doorway for your former company that was really only upside to it. I'm not sure I understand what you said there, Naruto. Was being on YouTube and having cheap membership to build community really could have served as a doorway for your former company. There was a really, oh yeah. Okay, so you're saying that YouTube could be a funnel to build the company. Yeah, I know somebody that's doing that too. And that's another thing I don't get either. That's what I'm saying, bro. What have I done? Shit, I just got booted out of another chat today. So, ghosted, man. Ghosted in high school. Ghosted at jobs. Relationships. Ghosted again. What the fuck is up with people ghosting me, bro? What about my face or my beard that just has like a neon sign that says, "Hey, bro, just ghost me," or "Hey, ghost me"? What do I give off that vibe, dude? Do I give off that vibe like, "Hey, you know what? That guy looks like he wants to be ghosted. let's ghost them. Do I give off that vibe somehow? Because I need to know. I need to know if that is the case, because we can fix it. But anyways, at this point, I'm just rambling. I've already got the message that I wanted to give you guys. Look, just because you pursue something doesn't mean other people are going to pursue, what it is that you want. Whether it's virtues, and that's a hard one too. Like if you guys get into stoicism, or if you just get into personal development at all, when you become a better person, the people around you that they may even stay the same, there's still going to be that difference. And I actually write about that in my book as well. It's I call it the proximity success gap. It's where you become successful, and it doesn't matter if it's health, money, skills, virtues, whatever. It doesn't even matter. It's anything. When you become successful, the people that are around you, that gap of success that's what, is going to cause a lot of problems. It's the proximity success gap. There might even be a term for it that might be something different. I'm not sure, but I've noticed that over time. And trust me, that's why this book is taking so long to write, because there's a lot of subjects that I want to touch on, and I want each one to be powerful and awesome. I don't want to just write a bunch of shit and then put it out. I don't want to do that. I want to give you guys something that is going to last a long time. You know what I mean? I want it to be like life-changing and be like, whoa, this book slaps. Like meditations or discourses, or any of these other books that I tell you guys about. I want it to just be incredible. But it's hard, man. It's hard trying to put this kind of stuff into words. It's difficult, but I'm doing my best, and that's all you can do. And that's what I'm going to continue to do, is my best, because at the end of the day, it's people over profit. No matter what you've heard or have seen, that's what I believe in. And that's all you're going to get here on this YouTube channel. Another unintentional bestseller. Oh no, if we do another bestseller, it's going to be on purpose. It's going to be absolutely on purpose. But I don't control whether it's a bestseller or not. It's out of my control. I could try, but ultimately it's out of my control. So we'll see. But yeah, I wanted to keep it short. I said 45 minutes. We've been here an hour and 10 minutes. So we're going to cut it here. And look, I hope you had fun. I hope you at least learned something, or at a minimum have at least been given something to think about, because it's not just me, it's with all of you guys. Everything that I experience, I'm sure you guys have experienced or are going to experience at one point or another. And if not, at least you're being prepared for it. So when it comes, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this is the shit that John was talking about. This is why my friends are acting this way, because I'm getting some traction and some success, and they're, being hateful and despiteful. It's like, oh, this is what John was talking about. You know what I mean? So yeah, you guys be blessed. Have an amazing rest of your night. We have one more stream left this week. That'll be tomorrow. I think it's 1 p.m. Eastern. All right, so see you guys then. Stay blessed. Take care.
I'm gonna cock my nine and kill a mother. I'ma cock my nine. 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 I'ma cock my nine.